Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. My name is Jessica if you are. Remember way back, if you've been with me at least for the course of the year, when I started Project Level Up, a wonderful eyeshadow painting project created by Sophie Alexandra here on YouTube, one of my favorite panners out there. And she is so fabulous with all of her eyeshadow painting projects. And with Project Level Up, the concept is that you are working up a series of levels on your eyeshadow palettes, randomly selecting one and starting with level 1 using all the shades at least one time and hitting one pan before moving up to level 2 where you use all the shades 2 times, try and hit 2 pans, etc. I think Sophie this year was also changing up the rules a little bit where she was just using 1 or 2 shades, whatever level she's on, at least 30 times. That way, if she doesn't hit pan after 30 uses, she can move on and go on to the next level, which I did not implement this year. I just did the classic rules that Sophie had laid out for this project. And it has definitely been a difficult project for me. If you haven't realized, I have not posted about this since April. Many of you probably forgot about this project, and I promised you, and I kind of reminded people throughout the year that I had not forgotten about this project. It was just always meant to be a back burner type project, something behind the scenes for me to focus on just 1 or 2 or 3 more palettes throughout the year outside of my other eyeshadow painting projects. Way back in April, I did update that I was moving on to level 2. I had finished level 1 in my Odin's Eye Jewels and Gem palette, a beautiful palette, and was very excited to move on to level 2 where I rolled in this palette from e.l.f., the jalapeno palette, one of their bite-sized palettes. And I'll go ahead and insert footage here about what this palette was looking like when I first drew it into the project back in April. And being level 2, I had to hit 2 pans on this. And I already had 2 pans in the matte, so I was trying to hit pan on those shimmer shades. Well, it took us quite some time, my friends, and I definitely had this on the back burner as intended. But as of a couple days ago, we have, in fact, finished level 2, and I now have pan on these 2 shimmer shades here, and coincidentally now a pan on every single one of these shades in this palette. So very exciting. I'm going to go through each of these shades one by one, tell you how many times I use them. Well over the 2 use minimum, I will tell you that. But some of these shades were just, not really stubborn. I just didn't really devote my attention to them because they are very bright and vibrant shades. They're definitely not something that I want to reach for on a regular basis. And I just had other goals I was trying to hit. So slow and steady, we got there. We beat level 2, but that is the end of this year of Project Level Up. But I'm at least happy that I was able to meet that goal before the new year. So still a success in my book. Let's start off with that first shade, the gold one. This one I hit pan after 25 uses, which is surprising. These are very shallow pans. I expected to hit pan on this one much sooner than 25 uses, but I guess when I was reaching for it, it was just as a little bit of a highlight shade, maybe a little bit in the inner corner, a little bit on the center of the lid. I wasn't really using this as the star of the show. I don't love wearing bright yellow golds like this. They're a little too bold, and I don't think very flattering on my skin tone. It depends on what I pair it with, of course, but wasn't my favorite gold to reach for, but I did eventually hit pan on that on the 25th use, and I have not touched it since. And that is what gives me this nice little pan that you see here, and hopefully you can see there's a nice little divot in there. It is a very pigmented shade, so it went a long way, but I'm so happy that I finally did hit pan on it, and I was very happy to kind of move on from it after that. The next shade was that shimmery green shade. I absolutely love this shade. It's probably the reason that I'm keeping this palette around. It's a very unique green in my collection. This shade here took me 9 uses to hit pan on it, and it is the smallest of little baby pans there, but it is a pan all the same, and I was very happy to finally hit pan on that one as well. That was the second shade that I hit pan on and just hit pan on it recently. I basically decided I am going to do a green look, and I'm going to keep adding green to this eyeshadow look until I eventually hit pan on the shade. I knew I was close, and I knew if I just really dug in there and did a really bold green look, I would get to that pan, and in fact I did. So that is the second pan for level 2, and I blew it out of the water with these other shades as well, mostly pairing it with the green when I would reach for that. So this first matte green shade, the more, I guess, mid-toned green, even though it is still pretty deep, I used 4 times, so 2 over that 2 use goal, and then same with that deep dark green, I also used that 2 times. You might see a big difference in how these pans look because they're very brittle and they have been falling apart on me a little bit throughout this year. You can especially see on this shade, a big chunk of that shadow fell out. And I believe even the gold and the green, you can kind of see around the edges where it's cracking, those also fell out or tried to fall out. I had to keep going in and pushing them back in, making sure they stayed secure inside that pan. And for that reason, I have considered decluttering this palette. In fact, that was my plan up until today. I went through all of my eyeshadow collection trying to see if I had another green similar to this. And while I come close, this one just has a certain quality to it that my other shades don't. It's a very kind of gold green, more of like a bright, vibrant, limey green, but with a little bit of like grunge to it. And I just don't have anything else in my collection that is close to it or exactly like it. And it just has that unique quality that merits it to stay around in my collection. It merits me to keep this palette, and I am okay with that decision. You know, it's not like it's taking up a lot of space. It is a unique color story in my collection. It's not like I'm keeping like a bronze shade or anything like that. And I think I will find myself reaching for that green shade when I'm doing green looks in the future. So don't mind keeping this one around. It's a very affordable palette. I think I paid under $5 for it. So I definitely think I'm getting the bang for my buck here, keeping it around just a little bit longer, getting more use out of it, and just enjoying these shades up until the point that I can't anymore. So that is all for my Project Level Up update. I do not think I'm going to be returning with this project in the new year. It's not that I don't like this project. It's just that obviously I don't have the time to commit to this project, and I don't want to keep feeling guilty about not updating a project or taking a long time to get to the next level. I am considering, however, another project, one also inspired by Sophie Alexandra, and it is the Big Fat Eyeshadow project. So she just started this last year, 2024, I guess it's still this year. And it was such an endeavor. I can tell that Sophie put a ton of work into this project. In this project, she had a challenge to use each and every one of her eyeshadow palettes as a whole and create 3 different looks with them using just that palette. And then she took beautiful footage of all of the looks and described what shade she used in the looks, and then created a point system to help her to rank all of her eyeshadow palettes in her collection at the end of the year, and then eventually even declutter some of those palettes that she just wasn't loving as much. And I just loved how comprehensive this project was, and it was such a beautiful resource for people who share these same eyeshadow palettes to reference for eyeshadow ideas and just getting a grasp of what ways you can use the different shades in the palette, as well as a great resource to people who may be interested in one of those palettes. They can get a really thorough breakdown about the quality and color range and all those different aspects that we consider when looking at our eyeshadow palettes, and definitely made me think about some that I maybe wanted, but then was reminded about the things that I had that were also beautiful, that maybe even reminded me not to buy those things that I was attracted to in her video. So if you're considering a palette, it might be fun reference for you. Check out her project. I highly suggest it. I'm going to leave it down in the comments below. And it's just such a fun project to do. And it seems like really, really difficult. So it would be a big challenge for me to take that on. But let me know if you would be interested in seeing me do that. I have just over 25 palettes in my collection. I think we're somewhere between 25 and 30. So if I brought in 2 or 3 palettes a month, I could potentially go through this big fat eyeshadow project with you all in 2025. Leave a little, I don't know, I am emoji in the comments below to let me know if you're interested in that. And if I get 100 people suggesting that I try that project, I will do it. Okay, so let me know. Definitely leave that comment if you want to see it, because I want to make sure that it's something that my audience wants to see before I put all of that time and effort into it. Okay, eye emoji down below. I appreciate you all so much for being here. Thank you so much for watching these videos and being with me throughout my 2024 panning year. I have panned so many eyeshadows, and 3 of them were from this Project Level Up. So thank you to Sophie for inventing it. Such a fun way to rifle through your makeup collection and get use on the products you already have instead of spending money on things that you don't need. I'm Jessica. Please hit the subscribe button if you're new here. Give this a quick thumbs up before you leave and say hi. I love hearing from you. I'm sending my love out to you wherever you are in the world that this video finds you, and I hope you're doing well, and I cannot wait to see you in my next video. But until then, take care. Bye.